Welcome to Daggercast. I hope you're having a great October. The leaves are looking real colorful around here. I am wearing a sweater backwards, and I can because I'm an adult and I can do whatever the fuck I want. Sweater weather. They didn't say anything about the direction of the sweater. Anyway, I wanted to just go into a movie that I just watched recently that I really liked. Ryan put on a movie that it's a Shudder original, but it's called Host. It's literally 56 minutes long, very low stakes if you're not a kind of person that can sit down for a whole movie, full of jumps, full of scares. It is a Zoom based movie, but please don't let that deter you. It's just very timely. It's very with the times. So it's good. There were some parts that really freaked me out, and it also, I don't know. I don't think that we can have movies like that so often. So this is just the one. This is the one that maybe did it the best. But also, I would challenge you while you're here on YouTube. I assume maybe you're listening to this on YouTube / watching it. If you're not, get on YouTube. There are a lot of people doing shorts. A lot of really scary horror shorts. I'm seeing horror shorts like in Reels and TikTok. Like people are really trying to be creative with a minute amount of time. And in this freaking world, even though the Quibi wasn't, no one liked that. I still think that we're in a world where our time is important. And I think if you can get maximum scares in a minimum amount of time, that's good. I hope it doesn't become a thing, but I do think that's an interesting way that film is going. So whatever. Our guest, let's talk about our guest. Why don't we? Shannon Candy is a wonderful lady who I am friends with. She is a Chicago music darling. I know her because our bands have played music together. She used to be in such things as Bash Bang and Strawberry Jacuzzi. And she just she released in 2020, which doesn't seem long ago. She released a solo album called So Long, which I very much recommend. Very good, very angsty, very with the times. So please do listen to that. It's on all the streaming things. And then she also just recently recorded a Love and Rockets cover for a show in Chicago. Babes with Blades is a theater company that is doing the Duchess of Malfi. And they had a bunch of women and non-binary people do like covers of kind of like new wave, like dark music, that's mostly done by cis men. So I'm very, it's on Bandcamp. Please check it out. It's very interesting, good, wonderful takes on that kind of that genre of music. And then also she does a lot of DJing for both Chirp Radio and for just regular DJ nights. So yeah, she's honestly the tit. She's super great. Her cats also stars of their own right. Yeah, I'm very excited to have her, and this is my interview with Shannon Candy. First question is going to be for Charlie. I'm joking.
Charlie.
And what's your favorite scary movie? I'm joking. Oh, Cujo? Is it? I'm sorry.
So Charlie used to be a stray.
Yeah.
And we found out that he has a bullet inside of him.
What?
Yeah. He had x-rays done at the vet recently because we thought he had asthma, and he doesn't. He just has a bullet inside of him.
Like, were they like, he swallowed this? Or were they like, this, he suffered a gunshot wound?
They were pretty clear, like someone was mean to this cat, and we're happy he lives with you now. Oh. But yeah, it was like one of those little BB gun pellets. So some punk kid, but yeah, now he gets to sit on a couch all day. He's having a good time.
Oh, Charlie, look at you. You're like, I've known pain, but I got it good here.
He just wants to hang out. He's great. The world tried to break him, and he's like, fuck you. I'm just gonna love.
Holy shit. That Yeah, my cat is also a street cat, and she also does that thing where she knows she's got it real good. So
Yeah.
that's why we have to keep her away from other animals, because she'll be like, I got it pretty good here, and if you're gonna mess that up, I'm gonna scratch you. Like she's an asshole, but she's also a permakin, and her eyes are like constantly dilated.
Yeah.
Street cats are like they are survivors. Like that's literally like a cat will just survive. And
Oh yeah. So when we got Charlie, the first month, he like wouldn't come near us. He hissed at us all the time.
he's like, don't talk about me.
Yeah. And it took him a while to like be nice to us, but now he's just like he just wants to chill with us all the time. So
Aww. Well, I'm
he's
happy.
a good boy.
I'm happy you have found a home. We love you, Charlie.
Yeah.
Well, Shannon Candy,
Yes.
we have been kind of in the same circles, I would say.
Yeah.
Chicago
For a while.
Chicago is a very large city, and oftentimes I've literally met entire people in entire bands that I've never seen, but we're like, oh, yeah, we've been a band since, as long as we've been like as long as the cell phones have been a band. It's a large place, but
yeah,
I feel like we have crossed paths several times.
Oh yeah.
I believe we have played with Strawberry Jacuzzi, which you played with quite a while ago. And
you played with Bash Bang.
Yes, and Bash Bang, absolutely.
At a charm school.
That. Yes.
That was a fun one.
Good Lord, that was it's kind of funny when people like will say like, oh yeah, I try to be an encyclopedia of the bands we've played with in the 15 plus years that we've been a band. And it is hard. The guys, like the Justin and Ryan are worthless. Like in this, they'll be like, do we know this person? I'm like, yes, we've played a show with them. And they'll be like, really, you remember a show? And I'm like, it was a pretty good one, and they never remember. So I feel like I'm constantly that person that's like I was harken it to like the show Veep when she's trying to like remember people's names, and it's the guy who's like, this is how you know them. And that's me.
Yep.
Like, we played a show, it was the Burlington, blah blah blah. Like,
yeah,
you don't remember.
You either remember it because it was good, or you remember it because it was bad. Either way, like
exactly, exactly.
Bonding experience.
But what I did not know was that you were a big, I don't know, like you and I have kind of just talked briefly on Instagram, which is how I communicate with people now, because I'm in Indianapolis, but also people are cool, and I don't know, stories are fun when you find things that connect with each other. And you and I have like talked a little bit about horror, and I've been like, oh shit, I want you to be on my, like, I don't know, I'm always looking for people to be on the podcast. And so yeah, tell me about your horror journey. Where did it start? How like what drew you to it? And I don't know, like how does horror fit in your life?
Yeah, all right, cool. So when I was 11, I had a sleepover, and my older sister rented Scream. Ooh. And I had never seen it. I never really watched much horror, even though I was a weird kid, I was like the kid that was like super into ghosts and stuff, and adults were like, something's off about this one. But so like I was super into horror like things, and so my sister rented Scream, and I just went crazy for it. I was like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. I'm 11 years old. And I was just like, well, now I have to see all of the movies that they reference, like I want to go out and I want to see Halloween. I want to see Prom Night. I want to see everything else that Wes Craven has directed, And so Charlie, we're gonna move you, buddy.
It's amazing.
He's very needy. But yeah, I want to watch all of these movies that are like referenced in this movie, because when you like something and you check out the things that influence that thing, oftentimes you will find some really wonderful things. it's like, you know, when I was a teenager and I was getting into punk, I really loved Nirvana. And so I would listen to like interviews with Kurt Cobain and he'd talk about like the Raincoats and, you know, and I would be like, oh, who are they? So it was the same thing with horror movies. I was like, well, if Kevin Williamson likes this movie, if he likes The Howling enough to mention it in this movie, it must be worth checking out. And then, you know, those movies led to others and it just kept going. And as an adult, you know, it's just, as you probably know, it's one of those things that when you meet somebody and you both really like horror, it's like how guys can talk to anybody about sports and that's like their like language that they have, that even if they don't like sports, they can kind of like figure it out. I feel like that's kind of like what we have with other horror people is like we've got that, yeah, we've got that like common ground there. So yeah, I've made a lot of friends just because I like a thing, you know, which is like kind of funny.
And it's also something that, you know, I think there was a time where people probably didn't talk to each other very publicly about liking like horror movies because it would
Yeah,
be like, you know, like a weird thing. But now it's just so ingrained in our like movie experience that I think, yeah, it's almost like a horror. It's like, don't tell me your, you know, birth chart. Tell me your 5
right.
favorite scary movies.
Yeah. I literally just did an interview with the library that I work at because they were like, it's spooky season. Let's interview our horror movie expert. Um, so yeah, it's like a cute thing. It's like, oh, you like horror? That's so quaint and like, you know, adorable.
Quaint.
Yeah.
Also, then it's like, then if I feel like if someone were to come up to me and be like, "Oh, you're our resident horror person. Give us your 5 favorite." I would pick the weirdest 5. I just pick like the
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like, do I want to recommend movies that I actually like, or do I want to recommend the movies that aren't going to make patrons be like, what the fuck? You know, like
like
come in and like side eye me and be like, I don't know if we trust this one. And I tried to aim somewhere in between. Like here
perfect.
are movies that I can recommend, but also won't scare anybody too much.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like I would never say to somebody like, "Oh yeah, you want to check out some like, you know, just like dip your toe into some horror like Lars von Trier. Give it a
Yeah,
try."
yeah, yeah.
Antichrist, I don't know. Maybe that one. Like that would never come
You
out of
know
my
what?
mouth.
Yeah, you know what you would love? Hausu.
Yeah. Just, you know, it's like a cartoon.
Casual. Yeah. Yeah, you just stick it on a nice sunny afternoon, feel good. Feel good movie.
It's like one time in college I was putting on The Exorcist because somebody gave me like a director's cut DVD and I watched it on my laptop in my dorm room and my roommate all she ever watched was Bend It Like Beckham.
All
And
right.
also she was Jewish, so she like looked at this movie like, I mean, most people say like The Exorcist was the first movie that like really scared them. Like my mom is
Yeah.
traumatized. Um, but she was literally looking at it with such curiosity. Like, I don't
Hmm.
get it. What's going on here? Is this
Yeah.
something? And I'm like, wow, like you really just, I mean, granted, I think she was trying to avoid it, but it was just kind of
Yeah.
funny because I feel like I would have been traumatized if somebody was like, "Oh, I'm just like day watching The Exorcist," and
Yeah.
it didn't scare her the way I wanted it to, honestly.
Was that the goal?
I mean, it was just kind of like I knew that what I was doing was weird and like
Hmm.
kind of scary, but like she didn't bat an eye, and I was like, oh, "Props to you." Her name was also Lindsey because they like
Ah.
to dorm Lindsays together just all the time. They think it's
This is
funny.
the Lindsay floor. Yeah.
I'm just like college is already hard enough, guys. Like, please, please don't do this. Um,
No.
so you mentioned, so that's actually really cool. I very much appreciate your um desire to like go reach back to the source material.
Yeah.
Because I really feel like every single horror movie has a map to a source.
Mm-hmm.
And not even one, like multiple sources, like anything that James Wan is doing with Bloomhouse, like you can always find his source material. So that's really cool. That's like when I don't know, like whenever a movie comes out, I want to read the book.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like I want to know I want to know how it started. And it's kind of interesting because either, a film makes that better or a TV show makes that
Mm-hmm.
better, or it just like could not possibly scratch the surface of the book. Um
Yeah, well, it's never going to be what it was in your head. They're never going to get it quite right. And so I feel like no matter what, there's going to be some sort of disappointment watching the movie or the TV show because you're just like, well, no, I didn't picture that way, and it just doesn't quite add up.
yeah, and I think some people, and I think you just have to make it your own. Like The
Hmm.
Shining was obviously like Stephen King hated it, but I think he hated it because it wasn't his book, like the book is terrifying in its own right, but the movie needed to be something more.
Hmm.
Um
Well, and Stephen King loved the TV miniseries version of The
mhm.
Shining with Steven Weber because it was so similar to the book.
Yeah. And it's funny because he's not like it's interesting because I feel like Stephen King's not always like that. Like when
Hmm.
like The Mist came out, he like applauded the director for making a scarier ending, like a bleaker,
Hmm.
scarier ending. And he was like, I wish I had have written that, which is like, I don't know. It really just says something about Stephen King's malleability to his to seeing his stuff on film. Like I think sometimes it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, go down the straight and narrow, do it exactly the way that he wants you to do it, or like
Hmm.
do a
Well, and I wonder if some of that has to do with like The Shining being so much earlier in his career and The Mist coming more recently, where maybe he's just a little older and he's like, well, I've seen what, these movies look like. Let's see when people like fuck around. Like,
yeah. Well, yeah,
yeah.
and like Carrie was his first big thing, and that was pretty straightforward. And when
Hmm.
I read the book, I think it was one of my first Stephen King books, so I think I was early teens. And I remember thinking like, wow, there's so much that they didn't get to show in the movie because
Hmm.
because it's the book. Like cuz the book is
Yeah.
doing a lot of things that you couldn't even put on film. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting how I think yeah, early on maybe he had stronger opinions cuz he wanted to protect his catalog, his small catalog, and then
Yeah.
suddenly it was just like, oh, who's doing a movie today? I don't
Yeah.
care. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, look, I just finished another book. Like he's just
Yeah.
man is a fucking machine. Like he put like I don't know why I feel put to shame, but I do. And I think that's his work ethic. He's wild.
Yeah.
I haven't written a single book, and I feel like God damn it, Stephen King.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
You
lord.
got to get on it.
Okay, this is another cat I'm seeing in the background. I
Oh
don't.
yeah, that's Soupy.
Soupy.
Yeah.
Well,
Soupy is we got Soupy when he was a kitten, so he doesn't have the bleak backstory that Charlie
okay.
does. He's just kind of he's always had a good life.
It looks
But
like
yeah, Soupy's also
he's like sniffing
yeah,
Chewbacca's butt.
yeah.
It's what I expect of a cat.
Oh, now he's crawling away in shame.
Oh,
Um, Soupy broke our TV once. He would climb on top of the TV and he'd have his back legs on the TV and his front paws on the wall. And one time we were like, Soupy, get down, and he jumped down and kicked the TV over. And we were like, no, the TV's the thing we love the most in this apartment.
yeah.
Like, don't break the TV.
Like I love cats, but get the like don't mess with my TV.
Yeah,
Um
we were bummed.
yeah, this is perfect actually. I want to talk about um I want to talk about your album because that came out in the dreaded year of 2020.
That's right.
And in 2020, I was stuck in a Chicago apartment with a giant TV, actually a larger TV than we had before, because my friend Garrett had given us a different TV, and it was
Mhm.
huge. And my only memory of the fog of 2020 was two things: was watching every Alien movie, and then watching
Mhm.
Ryan play Alien Isolation all the way through the video game, and then watching more Alien. And I cut my hair to be Ripley, but I messed up big time,
Oh no.
so I had to like completely cut my hair off. And then the second thing I remember about 2020 is that our band released an album, because we had one and we just couldn't do anything
Yeah.
with it. So I wanted to ask you about your album. It's at PS people, y'all can find it. It's on all the streaming things. It's called So Long. You should listen to it. It is a very short, very like energetic um bunch of songs. I love the way it's produced. And
Oh, thanks.
yeah, I just think it's really tight. It definitely could tell that you were like listening to like a lot of like, like Bikini Kill and
Hmm.
like things that were just very, yeah, I don't know. To me, it's a very clear, very like sassy ass record. But I just wanted to kind of
Yeah.
ask, like, yeah, what what was happening in 2020 for you in regards to this album?
Yeah. I mean, oddly enough, I think a lot of the songs from that album were written before 2020, but it's just the topics on it are so evergreen that it felt very current, and people were like, "Oh, did you write this song about the pandemic or about this?" And I was like, "No, I wrote that song 5 years ago." It's just like people are still ding dongs and believe everything they read on the internet, or whatever, like sexism and like capitalism and all these things are still problems. And so, like, I would love for this album to be really dated one day, but it's the album that just keeps being right.
Right? No, I'm seeing like read a book felt very like just every fucking idiot on the internet who doesn't get
Yeah.
their news from a proper source. And during the pandemic, that was really laid bare for us, because people were literally saying that COVID was a hoax and shit. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Well,
I,
and
like
that was my realization during COVID was that, oh, people who agree with me on other things are still getting the COVID stuff wrong. Like it wasn't like normally if I'm like, oh, this person, agrees with me on this social issue or this social issue, but COVID was the thing where I was like, oh, even some people who are like on the level otherwise are like really fucking this up. So,
I agree. Yeah, and I mentioned it kind of before we were taping that America has really spoken to my current existential crisis regarding being an American and living in this goddamn society that literally just focuses entirely on money. And I feel like, again, in 2020, it was pretty clear that like a lot of people in power were like, oh no, like it's okay for some people, for a lot of people to die to save our
hmm
economy. And I just remember
hmm
being like, oh shit, like we are in a bad place. Like as happy as I am to be in this on this in this country as opposed to others, sure. That was a very hard thing to hear, especially after having a baby and just like kind of having that be
hmm
like, well, you have a baby now. No, we're not going to help you. There's no
Yeah.
One of my favorite things was like New York Times had an open line for mothers during 2020 that what they called like the primal scream, and literally
hmm
like many women called that line and screamed and just talked about how a bad a position, like, yeah, it was, to me it was a very like weird wake up call. And I don't know, yeah, I got that from the song, and I think it's just carried with me 3 years later, just all that. I don't know, just the amount of ass that we showed that Americans showed,
Yeah.
of just like, yeah, we don't really care. We don't really care. And then also, you also had one of the songs from the album IUD, which is hilarious because that's not a 2020 song. We are not putting our mouths on people in
Yeah.
2020. We're
That's right.
But
the other day I realized that IUD is a song, it's called IUD, but everything mentioned in the song is something that can't even get you pregnant. It's like
yeah.
it's like making out.
But it's almost like you're opening the door to being like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
let's start here. It's almost like the foreplay song. And the IUD, like the fact that it's
Yeah.
titled IUD is like, don't worry, we're gonna be all right. Like
Yeah. This is what we're building up to.
this could lead to something else, and it'll be okay. It was very like, that's all you had to do. You just had 3 letters as the title of your song, and that all of that was well communicated. I liked
Oh,
that.
good.
But you also put that on a compilation album that I also
Oh,
put a
yeah.
song on, Oh Scotus Up Yours, that you can still find on Bandcamp if you want. And yeah, I just thought that was really cool. Were you just kind of like, oh yes, take a song, please? Or
Yeah. My friend Emily reached out and was like, "Hey, we're putting this comp together. Like, let me know if you have anything." And it was one of those things where I was so mad in that moment that like I couldn't write anything new because
Mhm, mhm.
everything I was writing was just like it was just like nonsense. I was so mad. And so I was like, I'm just gonna give an old song. Like I don't feel like anything I would write right now would be like accurate. Like I don't think it would like really reflect the moment because it would just be like, I don't know.
It was so funny because I had literally the opposite reaction when they said, "Hey,
Yeah.
do you want to put a song on this?" I literally recorded a song within a week and wrote the song in like 2 minutes. And it was a song
Hmm.
that had always wanted to be out. It was like about my mom's abortion and about like how
Hmm.
she describes it to me. Um, and I just kind of I literally wrote it in 2 minutes. And it's hilarious because my mom heard it and was like, "Yep, that's accurate."
Yeah.
Whereas my dad literally like mentally blocked it out, and that was
Hmm.
absolutely insane to hear because I like said, "Hey dad, did you hear my song?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did. That, that was really nice." um and I was like, "Well, it's about your abortion.
Yeah.
You
The
want to
thing you
talk
had a part in. Yeah.
If you want to talk about it, you know it's a sensitive subject and it includes you, so please, tell me if you need anything. Tell me if you need me to, I need your I guess I'm not asking, I wasn't asking for his input, but I was just being like checking in. And he literally was like,
Yeah.
wait, did I have something to do with this?" And I'm like I had such a fucking moment of just like shock of like, "Dad, you were there. Like
Yeah.
you were there. You drove my mom to go get what?" Like I was so blown away. And it was so funny like having to tell my mom like, "Hey mom, guess what?" And she was like, "Get out of here." Like, no. I would not in a million years think he would forget about this. And then when
Yeah.
we talked about like I talked about it to my dad later and he was like, "I'm 100% sure I mentally blocked that out because I had to." And I'm like, "Dude, I get it." Like, but also how wonderfully privileged of you as a man to just be able
I
to be
I was
like,
just gonna say there's a Strawberry Jacuzzi song that's about abortion, and there's a lyric that says he'll forget this thing we did, an example of his male privilege. And it's exactly
mm,
about that. It's like, oh, yeah, like the guy doesn't have to live with this his entire life, he just gets to like be like, oh, it's taken care of, okay. And that's not to say that like there aren't men who feel weird about it or whatever, but the pressure and like all of the feelings are definitely mostly placed on the person who is pregnant.
exactly. Yeah. And it was very like just I don't know. Sometimes and it's funny because like most men in my life are very aware that women are most likely stronger mentally to
Hmm.
handle a certain amount of pain. And like Ryan tells me all the time, he's like, "Oh my god, like I know you're better at handling this." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I think it's because we evolutionarily have to. Like
Hmm.
more that there's a lot more on us than what you guys get to run away with, And
Right.
it was really interesting to like have that conversation. And Yeah, I'll always love that compilation because I really feel like it's charged with a bunch of emotions for me, but like other people too. And I feel like your song fits too, because it's like also it's like it was just nice to hear like a song that was just kind of about like physical shit, you know? It was
Yeah.
just about being physical with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And like, but also the title of it is IUD. So it's like we're still
Yeah.
talking, even though we're still talking about reproduction because that's a part of it too, you know? Like
Yeah.
I really like appreciated the mix there. So yeah.
No, that was a great comp.
Yeah.
Like the song you wrote was, it's like it blows me away that someone could just write such a good song in 2 minutes. Like
Seriously,
that's
and
so impressive.
yeah, I literally like recorded it too, and I gave it to Ryan, and I was like, Ryan, I need your help with a song, and he was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this, but when I played it,
Yeah.
he was like, oh, like had a like visceral like reaction and was like, uh-huh, I'll help you with that. Like, just tell me what you want from me. I will play whatever you need. And I was just like, sweet. Like, and I think what since the pandemic, I've written maybe a grand total of 3 songs. Um,
Yeah.
and they are good. I like them all. I stand behind them all. But like I thought I'd at least have 10. I thought I'd at least have
Yeah.
something. Um and you've kind of talked to me, and I'm sorry we're not even talking about horror right now, but I'm really
It's
like
okay.
I've been super excited to talk to you kind of about you've talked a couple times about just kind of how the grind of performing and the grind of like being a band, I guess, is a
Hmm.
little trying and a little like you're not finding like the joy there as much. And I am with you. I am when you said it, I was like, oh, like I just felt really like God, thank God someone else is feeling this way. Cause in while we were all like stuck in our houses, I remember being very like missing venues and missing um be playing live. But I think it was very easy, and Ryan was the first one to bring it up, but it's very easy to romanticize playing shows because you have good ones, you play real good ones,
Yeah.
but then you also play really shitty ones. And
Hmm.
I think we all forgot sometimes about the really
Yeah.
shitty shows. And the second we got back to playing in venues, it was like, yeah, let's go. But like you forget that, oh, I have to promote, and oh, I never liked this venue.
Yeah.
Like now I have to have the energy to play. Oh God, we're headlining.
Hmm.
I forgot about how this sucks sometimes. And like, yeah, I think I mean, the cell phones have been playing since we've been playing once a month at least since 2009. So I'm like,
Hmm.
I don't need to I don't need to overdo it, but I also love it, and it's something I can't give up. But it was very like hard, and yeah, like to find that like creativity has been really difficult. So how have you been coping, and what's ahead for you? I saw you did a really cool show. You did the what was the last one you did that was like a
So it was a festival called Hands
yes.
Off Our Fest or HOOF. And it was, different like women and non-binary artists. It was put together by Birdie from the band Sweetie.
Nice.
And she basically was like, let's create our own space where like we can play and we can feel like safe and like we can be around other people who get it and kind of experience the same things. And, it was really awesome. And one thing I kept saying all night is kind of something you touched on earlier, which is that, some shows are better than others. And it was really, really nice to be at a show that I wanted to be at. Like, I didn't have a moment. I was there for like 12 hours. Like, I was there all day. And I didn't have a moment of like, man, it'd be nice to be at my house right now, or like, I'd really love to be in my pajamas right now. Like, the whole night, I was just like, man, this is really cool. Like, but I so rarely get that now. I feel like more often than not, I don't know, the shows just don't feel as fulfilling, and it's nothing against like the bands that I'm playing or whatever.
Or even the
It's
venues,
just,
kind of like they're all trying
yeah.
too. But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry. Continue.
No, you're cool. It's just feeling like it just feels like there's something missing, and what I think it kind of is this feeling of obligation, or this feeling of like, well, I can't stop doing this thing. I have to constantly be doing something and like putting out content. And if I'm not constantly putting it out and churning out this stuff, people are going to forget about me, or I won't get asked to play shows anymore, or, I'll lose a part of myself or something, like there's this feeling that I'm doing this not because I really want to or because I'm getting any joy from it, but because I feel like an obligation to it.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't good for creativity. Like obligation kills creativity. And so what I've been trying to do is rediscover just the way I felt when I was 13 and I didn't have any friends. So I sat in my bedroom and played guitar all day, and I wasn't like, oh, I better write a song now. I was just like playing along to whole albums, I was playing along to different albums that I loved. And yeah, just kind of dicking around and getting joy from just doing whatever.
Yeah.
And I think I want to find that again. The feeling of like, I'm gonna sit down and play my guitar and maybe nothing will come of it. And maybe just fun will come from it, Like it doesn't have to be a social media post or a new album or whatever. It can just be an hour where I get to be the weirdo that I am musically?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I, as the sole promoter and social media face and just everything for my band, because the guys are like, I do not find any joy in that, nor do I
Yeah.
want to do it. I'm like, that's great for you guys, but there are, sometimes it's really hard to like explain to my band members. One of them being literally my husband, who I literally
Yeah.
live in the trenches with every single day. We have cleaned 2 poop underwears today, between the
Yeah.
two of us. Even even we are like, yeah, there are parts of being in this band that really freaking suck, and
Yeah.
we, and there's only 3 of us, and we, there, like, one of us will burn out, and then the other 2 will be like, what do we do? And then another one will burn out, and the other 2 will be like, what do we do? Like, for I think
Hmm.
I think I've thought about ending this band multiple times between 2020 and now, um
Hmm.
because I have been like, what's the point? But then we play amazing show, and we all get together, and like, or I write a song and actually Justin likes it, like, which has happened maybe 3 times in our
Yeah.
like, he's actually like hearing the lyrics, and he's like, oh, Lindsey's doing something cool here. Like, that does not happen often. And it was, and so then it's like, oh, maybe we're finding it again, or
Hmm.
maybe we're just briefly on the same page for a little bit, and now we're all gonna fall off because we have kids and we live in 2 different towns. But yeah, I agree. I know that there's like, I don't know, I feel like you can always just kind of feel it. It's in you somewhere.
Hmm.
The like, yeah, what you enjoyed and what you initially loved, and it's just getting like pushed down by life, capital, like, or like just having to
Yeah.
have a job and live a life. And
Well,
yeah,
and I feel like the music industry is so soul crushing. And when you're like 24 and you're like raring to go, you can like put up with all that stuff
oh yeah,
because you're just like so stoked on it. But, I'm 38 and I'm like, I've been doing this a long time. I'm not stoked on it anymore. Like I've lost that young momentum. And
yeah,
just like,
like,
yeah,
I'm not looking to get famous anymore. I don't even know if I was
right.
looking to get famous at the start of this. Like, and so
Mhm.
many people were telling me like, oh, well, if you want to get famous, like, you gotta quit your job. You gotta go
Yeah.
all in. And I just remember being like, with what, with what health insurance, and
Right.
I just was like, it'd be really cool if our society like loved musicians enough to let them like flail around before they blew up and got famous. Like that'd be great, but like that's
Mm-hmm.
not how it works. And yeah, I think like I was young, I had the patience, and now I'm literally like slotting it in between. I'm penciling it into my schedule between
Yeah.
feeding myself, like because like you get to a certain age where it's like, oh no, no one's gonna take care of me but me
Yeah.
anymore. Which, and this is just, I'm sorry, we're sliding right into it. Um, what I loved, and I really wanted to talk to you about this, the movie Talk to Me, because you had talked about
Hmm.
how much you loved like old school, like the source material, obviously. And
Yeah.
I and also like kind of our like feeling of burnout and stuff. Like I have really had like feelings of like getting really tired of running whatever rat race we're running and just wanting
Hmm.
to kind of like take a back seat. And literally that was my favorite part of the movie Talk to Me, is when they're asking her like, why do you like doing this game? Like why do you like letting
Hmm.
these spirits or whatever they are embody you? And she says, I don't have to feel anything. I'm in the back seat. I'm in the back seat and someone else is driving the car. And
Hmm.
I think there's like this in our society more now than ever, with Gen Z more now than ever, of just kind of not wanting to like process or deal with grief or deal with
Hmm.
trauma, of just kind of wanting to be, yeah, to not have to deal with that. So we've got like so many kids still living with their parents and not really caring, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to be driving the car. I don't want to be like, and I think that was the part of Talk to Me that like really spoke to me. And
Hmm.
yeah, I guess like what did you kind of think this movie was saying about, because it's like these movies aren't even being made for us anymore. They're being made for
No.
they're being made for a younger generation now, and I've had to come to terms with that.
Uh-huh.
um yeah, I guess like I don't know. I guess I wanted your thoughts on like what do you think movies like Talk to Me are trying to say to us or the young or like the future generation, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of felt like there was a little bit of like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a metaphor for like drug use, right? Because like these kids are experiencing like a euphoria when they do this, and it's like a party trick, it's like a thing
Mm-hmm.
you do at parties, and it's a thing you do to fit in because all the other kids are doing it. So
and
I think
being
there was a
and being
little.
and being filmed too, like being filmed doing it on
Yeah.
phones, on and it just being kind of like a little thing you watch and laugh at, even though
Hmm.
something horrible is happening, right?
Yeah, and like seeing it really fuck somebody up and still being like, well, I want to do it, like, because it's
Yeah,
not going to fuck me up like that. Like, it's just going to be good for me.
yeah, or like
I.
or it's going to answer questions, like I felt like the whole reason why those spirits were able to do such damage to those kids was because they were like convincing them almost that it was like solving a problem, or that it was like,
Mhm.
because then suddenly she's like, oh my god, am I talking to my mom, like,
Right.
and it was very just like, oh well, now this is an easy way for me to find peace or closure or something, but that is not, if we're using it kind of as a metaphor for drug use, that is not the
Mhm.
way, so
Right. Yeah, no, it was this like, I'm going to give you what you so desperately want. So for Mia, it's to get answers regarding her mother's death. For Riley, it seems like it's just like fitting in and showing he can hang with the older kids and like, showing how cool he is or whatever. So yeah, it gives you this social credit that you
Chewbacca.
that
Sorry. He literally like he was like, I'm done. It's a ghost. It's a ghost. He's just like, oh no. I'm so
Chewbacca's like,
sorry.
oh heavens.
Are we
Oh my.
boarding you? Are we Wow. Yeah, no, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to.
It's okay. I knew my cats would just like take over this interview at some point.
They did it. They
But
did it from
yeah, like
literally
it's
the beginning of the
yeah,
interview.
that's what they do.
Mhm.
When I worked from home, it was just nonstop. Like I'm gonna have to put them in another room, but then they just like freak out and meow, and you could hear that. So it's like it's better just to let them run wild and do their thing.
Exactly. Then
Um,
they'll get bored with you.
yeah, exactly. But no, I feel like yeah, it was offering them some sort of answer that they weren't going to get otherwise.
hmm And in the end, Ryan and I kind of like, spoiler alert, but in the end,
Yeah.
Ryan and I kind of like were fighting each other about this. What do
Mm-hmm.
you think happened? Obviously, she died.
Yeah. Okay.
So
No.
you see like she's walking in the hallway. You see Riley better.
Mm-hmm.
You see the family happily holding each other, getting safely away. But does the dad survive? Or yeah, does the dad survive?
I interpreted it as he did not survive, and the elevator was him going to the afterlife, whatever that may be, but she's stuck in limbo.
Yes. Okay, cool. Because that's kind of what we kind of I was also like I was like, oh no, he just got out. And Ryan was like, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, no, but he was on an elevator going up. He didn't go to the exit. He was up. And so
Yeah.
you're like, oh, did he like move on? Like,
Yeah.
and she just kind of got stuck in like whatever weird limbo prison.
Mm-hmm.
Like, also that was kind of interesting. Like, I'm not a religious person, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't really necessarily understand like what they were saying about limbo. And I know that some people are like, oh, like purgatory. It's like pre-hell or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, I thought purgatory was just like normal. Like to me, like a place between heaven and hell would just be like here, like would just be like
Right.
just like a normal
So
place.
yeah, to me, it's like a waiting room, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're just stuck in the waiting room and you don't know where you're going yet, and you're just kind of like reading boring magazines and dicking around and wishing you could go on, but you don't have anything to go on to. You're just stuck in the waiting room.
Yeah. So it's like, but also when the crazy turn that just like scared the shit out of me was like the little child, and she sees like
Mm-hmm.
this little girl, and she and every one of them looks like slightly dirty, slightly like
Yeah.
unkempt. And when she says, she's like, please just, I need to talk to my mom, I need to figure out what's going on, I need to help my friend. And the kid
Mm-hmm.
just goes, okay, I let you in. And it's like, oh god, it works both ways. Like it was like terrifying to
Yeah.
see. Like, oh my god, it's not a one way phone, it's a phone. It's like literally like there are two ways
Right.
to the line. And when she's in that weird place and they're all like
Oh, it's awful.
bloody and sloppy on each other, and I'm just like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, like I am to believe that this is purgatory. Like it was
Right.
very like that looks like
This is a
hell.
neutral place.
This
Yeah.
isn't hell. Like that was very, and also like just the yeah, I guess sometimes I wanted a little bit more. Um, but if but maybe that's just me. I also love when a horror movie really doesn't explain itself much. It just
Yeah.
is, and it just does. But it was very weird to be like, all right, now there's like an 8-year-old child, there's a creepy old man, there's
Mm-hmm.
weird characters, and her mom. What do they all have in common? What's keeping them all in this weird little zone?
Mm-hmm.
Was it the hand? Was it the like did they encounter it at a different time in their lives? Or did they like because of the way they died? Like that was not explained. But also
Yeah.
that would have been, I don't know. It was a quick movie, and I feel like you could have tacked on maybe a single scene to explain that.
Mm-hmm.
But also Would it have been worth it? I don't know.
I I think I like it better not explained.
Hmm.
However, they are coming out with a sequel, and I believe it's a prequel. So
Oh
maybe
shit.
maybe we get answers there.
Oh my god, I think we will. That's awesome. I mean, especially because what I loved about this movie was it's like it's not an American movie. It is
Hmm.
absolutely set in Australia.
Yeah.
Um which is like it was hard sometimes to understand. Like I kept being like, Mia, is it Maya? Maya. Like I kept hearing like Mia, Mia, like Maya. Like it was terrible. But I was like, this is amazing. I like, would you consider this a foreign film? Could this be in the running for best foreign film in the
Mm.
Oscars? Because it's technically a foreign film. Um, Also it beat, like, as we were watching it, I think we literally watched it on Labor Day, like in the middle of the day. And as that was happening, it had successfully surpassed Hereditary as A24's biggest, highest grossing horror movie. Um,
Ah.
yeah, which for me, Hereditary, it was not. Um,
Hmm.
but I can understand. And it to me also, I was like, maybe it's because it's speaking to a younger audience. Because it wasn't necessarily like bloody or scary. It was, it wasn't like gory. It was just very like unsettling. It was kind of gory. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
I
like,
mean, there's a couple scenes that are a bit gory, but
but like
overall, not too much.
not too much. I think the scariest part was her like sucking on that dude's foot.
That I remember in the theater, people being like gasping
Yeah.
at that part.
I
It
mean,
really affected
they
people.
could have been gasping either way, honestly.
Yeah.
There's such like apparently the internet likes to tell me that there is a gigantic population of people who enjoy feet. So I wondered if, yeah,
That's what I've heard.
if there's like people who are like, oh god, that there are people like, oh god, like,
Yeah.
oh. And I'm not here to yuck a yum, but that,
No.
I think that is, there's got to be a good intersection for horror movie lovers and foot lovers. They,
I'd imagine there's a pretty big like Venn
yeah,
diagram there. You know what I mean?
yeah, we're gonna,
I think the weirdos and the weirdos tend to get along.
yeah. Jared, note to Daggercast. Let's make a catalog of every movie that includes a large amount of feet, um, and sell that. Step 2 question mark, step 3 profit. I really think somehow that's gonna really open up Daggercast. I'm gonna make my money somehow. Good
You
lord.
got to.
Well, I'm just checking. Oh yeah, I've gone far beyond. But Shannon, thank you so
That's
much for
okay.
talking to me about all
Thanks
of
for
this.
having me.
Please, let's do this again.
Yes.
Awesome.
When
Yeah.
Talk to Me comes out, the movie
Oh my
is
gosh.
Talk to Me.
Talk. They've got to, and it's like the hand is gonna be like,
Yeah.
it's gonna just like. You heard it here first. If it happens, I'm gonna ask for my money. I'm gonna be
Yeah,
like,
you should. You're
uh,
like, I've got this and I've got my foot thing and I want this money.
I will laugh
Money
really
now.
hard. I'll laugh really hard when Talk to Me also includes a giant foot sucking, because they're like, we know that you liked it. We'll bring it back at number 2. Um,
Yeah.
and
You
all
know
of
what the
this,
fans want.
yeah, and all of this like makes me so sad for like something like Talk to Me, explosion. But then
Mhm.
poor Patrick Wilson wants to direct his own version of an Insidious movie. And it's like,
Oh,
no one wanted to see that. Everyone
no.
was like, boo. And I feel really bad for Patrick Wilson. I'm like, hey, how about you just like be cute in movies and
Yeah.
not direct anything? Could
Yeah.
we didn't want you to, but cool you did. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the kids want Australian foot
Foot
sucking
sucking
demons.
demons. Yeah. Obviously.
So
You
get
just
on.
don't know what the kids want, Patrick Wilson.
Yeah, Patrick Wilson was just like, oh, you guys liked Insidious, right? And it's like, yeah, maybe after the first one. And then
Oh
after
man.
that was a great movie example of like, I don't need to hear the rest of it.
Yeah.
Like an old lady inhabits you, and that's the end of the movie. That was the end of the first movie. I was like, that's it. That's all I need.
Although sometimes I think I don't need more, but then like when I saw X and I was like, oh, that was pretty good. I liked that. And then I found out they were making a prequel and I was like, I don't have any questions. Like I didn't finish this movie and go, I need to know more. But then I saw Pearl and I was like, oh, that was fantastic. I liked that more than X even. And like I didn't know I needed this movie. And then it was, it blew me away. So
Yeah, I feel like I can't
sometimes you
question.
don't think you need it.
Yeah, I can't question Ty West. If he says we need three, we need three. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
Daddy, I will listen to you. Whatever you need. I also
House of the Devil is one of my all-time favorites.
and he
So
did that
good.
one. Absolutely. And that again, like, is one where, yeah, you end it on that movie. You don't need any more. I don't need House of the Devil 2. Not in any way,
No.
shape, or form.
Oh man. So real quick, I saw House of the Devil at the Music Box Theater when it first
Oh,
came out, like 2009 or whatever. And I was raised Catholic, so it really scared the hell out of me, even though I'm like a non-believer now. It like really like affected me. And the next morning I was going to work and I lived in an apartment building that had like a gate out front. And there were these like, I don't know if they were Jehovah's Witnesses or getting like signatures for a petition or what these people were doing door to door, but they were outside my apartment and I think they thought they were being like cute or something. And when I walked outside, they were like, there she is. We've been waiting for you. And I was like, no, no, you are not putting a Satan baby inside me.
oh,
I'm not having it. Like, scram. Like I yelled at these people because I was still so freaked out by that movie.
oh my God. I'm sure they're probably like shocked. They were like, oh my God, like
Yeah. Like, all right, move on to the next one.
Chicago's mean and scary.
Like, that's right, it is.
Mom could pick me up. A woman was mean to me. Like, I should do that next time. I feel like I get bothered a lot by like traveling pastors. Some guy was like, "Oh, hey, I'm a pastor at a local church, and we're trying to get money for this kid to go to college." And I wanted to be like, "He got more money for that kid. Give him your own money. Don't ask for my money. You're stupid. Get out of my face."
Yeah.
But I should next time they do that, I'm going to be like, "Oh, you're not going to put a Satan baby into me, boy."
Not this body.
Not this
one. Nope.
Wow. Well, man, yeah, I'm with you. I was also kind of Catholic and then definitely not anymore.
Oh yeah. No.
Fun to just like, I don't know, like live with that and be like, I don't, yeah. I love when and I feel like horror movies like are kind of doing that less. Like Catholicism is less of a thing. Now it's this. Now it's Talk to Me, where people are. It's just like the cult of.
Well, now, yeah, everything's an allegory for like the grief and trauma that we all have, and like
exactly.
that's cool. But also, I'm like, I don't know, I could just do a werewolf movie where the werewolf's just a werewolf. That's cool too. It doesn't have to be the werewolf I turn into on the inside when I think about my mom.
Yes, exactly. I do often turn into a werewolf and thinking about certain members of my family.
Yes,
absolutely. It's true. Sometimes and it would be really interesting to like have a movie that was kind of like it like started out as being like a cerebral journey into the mind, but then in the end it was just like, no, it's just aliens.
Yeah.
They're killing people.
Like, psych, this movie's dumb.
Turns out you just watched a dumb movie. And then everybody's
I love this idea.
They're just like, wait, I watched a dumb. This is genius. And then everyone talks about it.
What a twist.
That's the twist, Jordan Peele. Get on it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for talking. I could talk for a good another hour, but we will absolutely do this again.
Yes.
I will again, a reminder, everybody, listen to Shannon Candy. It's good jams. You just there's no bad jam in there. And also, like, listen to her and read a book, motherfucker. It's maybe my favorite word.
Thank you. I'm a librarian. I have to throw that in there.
Thank you for that. More people need to hear that message. I'm gonna make you a cross stitch pattern with that message on it specifically.
I love that. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yay.
Thank you. And that's it for Daggercast. Thank you so much for listening. We very much appreciate it. Listening, watching, whatever the hell you're doing. I hope that your Halloween time is spooky right up until December 24th. And I also just want to, also email. If you ever want to email me anything about anything, feel free to do that at daggercastinfo@gmail.com. Leave a comment. We read them. I'd be happy to, if you ever want to be on the show and talk to me about horror, I'm so happy to do that. I would love to do that with you. I don't even know who you are, and I want to. And then also, just very last, there is only one guy who I know listens to every single episode of the show, beside our production manager, Jared, who is a great guy, and he listens to all of them, of course. But there's one guy who's not involved in any way, but will listen to my stuff and will give me critiques, and he doesn't even need to listen to this. He hears me literally every day, but I just want to, I don't know, because our anniversary was yesterday, I just want to give a special thank you to my husband, Ryan Szewski, who is my favorite partner in horror. It's been a rough month. It's been a rough couple weeks, my friends. Like, the world is on fire. Everything is just terrible, and it's just been really good to do it with him, to do it with you, Ryan. So I just want to say, from the bottom of my weird, creepy little heart, I love you so much. All right, that's it. That's enough.